guys, and welcome back to another video. So today I want to talk about advice and things I wish I knew in my first year. So I have just graduated from the University of York. I studied law for 3 years and now I'm going on to do my masters at King's College London. So I kind of feel like I've got a bit of experience here, and I do know the good and the bad things about university, so I want to pass that on to you guys that are starting this year, or maybe you're going to second year, just want a bit of advice all the same, so you can make the most of your university experience. So I'm going to jump in to the tips and advice, basically things I wish I knew. I put it into 3 different categories. So firstly, the things that you can do before you go to university, then when you get there, and then in terms of like academic study. So I've got some notes on my phone, and let's kick straight off into before you go to university, like what things would I have wanted to know, and just general advice. So the first thing is sort out your university accommodation as soon as possible. So for me, I was quite lucky at York that we can do our accommodation as soon as we get an offer. So that means that in like May, June, you can do your accommodation like ASAP, and it takes a lot of pressure off because you know what room you're going to, then you can start working out finances, and also you can figure out what to bring and all of that. So it does take a lot of stress off knowing like what your university room is going to be like. So I'd recommend doing your accommodation ASAP as soon as the university allows you to do it, because it does take a lot of stress off. And then, you can be placed more likely into accommodation that you actually want to be in, and then you'll be able to like meet people in that college if you're at a collegiate system, or maybe your block of halls, and it kind of like speeds the whole process up basically before you get to university. So going off that is budgeting. So as soon as you know what your student loan amount is and what your accommodation rate is going to be, you can budget how much you're going to need for that year. So I used to break it up and do how much I was getting in student loan, what my outgoings I knew were going to be were, i.e. like my rent and things like that, and then I would look at the amount that was left and then factor that up by the amount of weeks that I would be at university for, and then factor in things like travel going home, books that I might have to buy, food, going out costs, any travel or like holidays that I wanted to go on, or any clubs or events that would happen, and figure out how much money I had to spend every week, and then what I would want to spend that money on. And it basically enabled me to like work out what I could and couldn't spend, and whether I needed a job and things like that. So I recommend budgeting and then sticking to that budgeting when you actually get to university, because it then makes you stretch your student loan a lot further, and then you don't have to sit there ending up on beans on toast because you've got no money. So going off that, things to buy. So I wouldn't recommend going all out on things that you need to buy before you come to university. Just take a few things from your room at home, and then maybe buy just a few new things that make your university room feel more like a second home, somewhere that you can relax and be safe in. So for me, I bought like a new bedspread, which was this one. I've had it for the 3 years I've been at uni, and to me it was just, I wanted something nice that would make me want to spend time in my room and see it as a relaxing, comforting place where I'd want to sleep here. So whether you want to buy a bedspread like I did, get a mirror, some ornaments for your room, it's always nice to just get a few bits to make that room more personalized and more your own. Then also bring things from home. So I brought my like fairy lights, I got some whiteboards that I had at home, pictures, and just like little personal knickknacks that I've had on my desk and on my walls since I was like at high school. So it kind of makes the room just feel more homely. And also look at your room before you go and buy stuff. Don't make the mistake of going out and just buying like a big old list of all the things you think you will need, because chances are when you actually get to your university room, it'll be way smaller than you think it is, it'll have way less storage than you think, and you'll have so much stuff that you won't know where to put it. And there's nothing worse when all your dorm room is like your quarters for that year. If it's just crammed with stuff, like it's just going to make it feel quite like chaotic and stressful. So what I did when I knew I had a certain accommodation block in college, I emailed the college team and kind of found out what would be in the room, whether there was like any mirrors or any storage, and like what was there basically, to figure out what I needed to buy. There's a few things that you kind of forget to bring but make the room more practical and livable, like having a mirror, having an extension lead if the plugs are quite far away, or having long chargers, having a doorstop so you can keep your door open and speak to your housemates. Like things like that are like key to bring, but you don't really know whether you'll need half of those things if you haven't seen the room. And then things to bring, don't bring like your full full wardrobe. Like, I literally brought so much stuff in first year and I didn't even like wear it or use it. I wore the same like 15 t-shirts, which you probably see from all my videos. I wear like the same clothes basically. And I had so much stuff in my wardrobe that I just like didn't wear. But then also it's key to have like 1 or 2 bits that are good for fancy dress, because chances are in Freshers Week and throughout the year, especially if you're on a sports team, when you do socials, you'll need little bits of like fancy dress and stuff, or for Halloween, like, and it makes it easier just to have something in your cupboard. I remember I had this like, there was like a blouse that was like camo print, and that was then me, like my army outfit sorted for any dress up event. And then I had this like just camo sticks, and that was me done. So it's good to just have something like that you can pull out, because it takes the stress off, you know, when you want to do like themed nights. And then in terms of the kitchen, my big advice, and maybe this might not be for you, but I only brought one of everything. I knew that, well, I'm not a good cook, so I'm not gonna be cooking for anyone. And if I did, then I'll just get paper plates or whatever. Like, so I could get away with just having, you know, like 1 plate, 1 little plate, and then a bowl, and then 1 set of the cutlery, and then like 1 mug and stuff. And for me, I did that because I knew if I had one of everything that I would have to wash it up after every time that I used it, because if I just left it on the side and it got smashed or broken, or I wanted to then cook something quickly and it hadn't been washed, it would be the biggest pain. So for me, that basically got me into the rhythm of, as soon as I'd eaten, washing it up, putting it straight back in my cupboard, and it was always ready for me. And it just keeps good habits, and I've been like that for 3 years now, so I feel like that's a habit that I won't break. And I have found that anybody in my, you know, hauls that had like 4 sets of everything, got them lost, got them broken, cutlery goes missing like there's no tomorrow. And also, if you have like 4 plates, you're not going to wash up the plate if you know you've got 3 more there. So it just stacks up on the side, it annoys all your housemates, and it's just not good. Like, it's better just to have 1, and plus you have more kitchen space then, because for me in halls I only had 2 cupboards, and that was for everything, all food, all cutlery, all pots and pans, everything. So the more stuff that you have, the less space you'll have for food and things like that. So that's why I only had 1 of everything, and that is my tip. And then the final 2 things about before you come are more academic based. So firstly, check if you have any pre-reading to do before you come, and just do it over the summer, because it will make life easier. Like, I'm not saying to do the whole term 1 reading over the summer, because it's just unnecessary, because you have the term for that. But do little bits they want you to do in like weeks 1 to 3, because it will take the pressure off, and then you can focus in those first 3 weeks of term doing the things that you want to do, meeting people, getting to know people, rather than being in your room trying to do uni work. But that does depend on the course. I know for law at York, we literally have like no pre-reading to do, so you know, to check in advance to see if you have any, and then do it if you do. And then going off that is familiarising yourself with the marking scheme, so you know how you're going to be assessed. I'm not saying dedicate it to memory, but just kind of have a glance and kind of figure out what they're going to be asking from you. Look at your lecturers, what subject areas they specialise in. If you have like a niche area you're interested in, kind of mentally note if anyone does the same, and then you can kind of like single them out to go and talk to them in the department and kind of build those bonds and build those connections. And also know when the office hours are, which are sort of the open door hours where you can just go into your lecturers and speak to them about anything, and just generally know what lecturers are going to do what modules, so you know who to expect when you rock up to certain lectures. You know, maybe do a bit of background on them. That's what I did, so I knew who everybody was before I came. It kind of made it easier than just going into a lecture and being like, who's this guy? So that's what I did before I went. And finally, just kind of making note of any events that are happening in your department for the first few weeks. So in law at York, we have this like mixer that we have at the start of term. It's like the end of Freshers Week. Completely didn't even know it was happening. And then like on the day I was like, oh my God, this is happening. Like, you kind of need to go to them to show your face at least, get to know everybody. So, you know, put them in your diary, because Freshers Week is quite overwhelming anyway. And there's so much going on that you kind of need to figure out when stuff is happening to know what's going on. So now for the advice for when you're actually at university. Firstly, talk to everyone. Hopefully you would have joined the group chats beforehand, and you'll know certain people, and just be really open and like try and speak to as many people as possible. I remember in my Freshers Week, I would like be on the bus going to events or just going like clubbing and stuff, and anyone that I saw, I was like, hi, who are you? How's it going? And like, some of those people I still speak to now, like after I've graduated. So, you know, speak to everybody. Everyone's looking for mates at the end of the day. And the worst that will happen is that person will end the conversation quite quickly, and you'll be like, well, that person wasn't for me. Best that could happen, they could be your best friend. So, you know, it's good to be open with everyone. But also going off that, I guess these are a bit like, not warnings, but like a bit of advice. Don't jump into friendships. You know, even though there is a pressure, I suppose, in Freshers Week to like find people that you get on with and like have friends, don't jump into friendships after Freshers Week and just think that these are the only people that you can be friends with, because there's so many people at university and they might just not be your people, and that might give you a negative view of the uni. So like just go and find loads of different people and choose who you want to be friends with, because you have 3 years and you can constantly make new friends throughout the 3 years. It's not a case of if you don't meet people in the first term then you're never going to meet people, you know. You can join societies and clubs and stuff all throughout the year in all 3 years. So don't limit yourself just to the people that you meet in the first few weeks. Really go out there and make an effort to find your people. And also going off that is, don't jump into relationships. The amount of people I knew that within 2 weeks at uni who had literally shacked up with somebody and how had like a boyfriend or girlfriend, and it just, I think it isolates you for the university experience if you're then a couple, because you do everything together and everyone associates you as a couple rather than you as an individual. And plus you're putting so much time and effort into a relationship that you're not putting into your degree, and fundamentally you are at university to do a degree, not to like find your husband. And I can guarantee you will not find your husband at university. Someone told me, they were like, you're gonna find someone at uni. Where are they? So focus on you, focus on what makes you happy and your interests, and if relationship happens, it happens. But I would say that most relationships at university are destined to fail, purely because if it lasts throughout university, well, at the end of university, chances are you'll be going separate ways anyway. So it's not worth the time. Just focus on your mates and you and your course, and it's the easier, simpler way. Also in your first year, there is the pressure to get a house for second year. So at my university, we have to get a house, you know, for second year really quickly. So obviously we start in the September, and then we have to have a house really by like October, November, because the student houses go so quickly. That does put pressure on students to commit and get a house with people they don't really even know, and then you have to be with them for like a year. And you know, I made the mistake a bit of, in my third year, agreeing to live with people, and it didn't end well. So, you know, take it from me that it's better to wait, even if that means you go back into halls or you live on your own or you live with like somebody else. It's better, trust me, than signing up to live in a house with people that you've known for 4 weeks. Then in a year's time, when you do go to live with them, you might have fallen out, you might not get on, they might drive you crazy, they might have all these little habits that you didn't know about when you signed that house, and it just might be hell for a year. And it's not worth having an uncomfortable living situation when you're in your second year, because that's the year that counts at the end of the day, and it starts going towards your degree, and there's nothing worse than committing to live with people that you don't like. But until that all happens and you know, you're living with people in halls is such a fun time, so you need to make the most of it and really connect with people in your halls, because to be fair, the people that you have in your halls are the people that you, one, will be friends with probably for the 3 years that you're at uni, and two, the people that you'll end up living with in second and third year. I mean, I lived with two people that I lived with in my first year and my third year, and some of my closest friends now are people that I lived with in first year, so they are sort of like a foundation basis of all your mates that you get at uni. So it's important that you kind of bond with them straight off. And I mean, the ways we did that at university was we had like a chart in our kitchen of people's birthdays, so we knew like who was in what room and whose birthdays they had, so when someone had a birthday we could plan something. It just makes it more inclusive. We also had like fun things like a chunder chart and a pulling chart, which is very university. I feel like every university flat has this, whereas on any night out or something happens, if someone is like ill or someone gets with someone, you do a little tally. It's not like a pressure thing, it's more just of a talking point of, if you see a tally that's new on the board, the next day over breakfast you can be like, oh, you know, and then it just starts a conversation. It's all just a bit of like banter really. And also just make an effort in those first few weeks to go and speak to people that you live with, go on nights out, get to know them, enjoy Freshers Week with them, and don't expect them to be like your best mate straight away. It takes time. You just really need to like be like gentle with those relationships and just take it steady, and you know, meet as many people as you can. Also with people you live with, oh my god, I've written it down here and it's given me triggered flashbacks, is cleaning rotas. Okay, so chances are if you fall out of people, it's going to be over cleaning or it's going to be over washing up. I remember in first year, all of our rows in the group chat were like about someone who hadn't cleaned or had left a mess, and like it is annoying because we all live differently, we're all different people, but you need to understand that when you're in halls, you are living with other people, you need to have a level of courtesy. So a good way to kind of have that is to have a cleaning rota, so you know what jobs need to be done, who is doing them, and then you kind of feel like you have to do the jobs more, everything gets done and it makes life easier. And I know a lot of halls do have like cleaners come in. We had a cleaner every week come in, but trust me, I lived with 11 other people, and even though we had a cleaner once a week, the kitchen was a tip 99% of the time, okay? So cleaning rotas are very, very much needed. So now for Freshers Week, and my advice would be make the most of Freshers Week because it is a fun time. You have no classes and you get to meet so many people when you're doing Freshers Week, but also just like don't overdo it. Don't feel like you have a need to go to all the events to meet people and to try everything, because I pretty much remember going to everything in my Freshers Week and it killed me off. I full on got so ill in my second week, which is like freshers flu. Everyone gets it every year pretty much. But I had the full legit flu and I got an eye infection. Like, it was really bad. It was an awful way to start my university sort of life. So if I had taken it easy and had sleep throughout sort of the first week of uni and just done the events that I really wanted to do, I think I would have enjoyed them a lot more. I would have been less tired and I wouldn't have gotten ill. Plus, it's worth to note that there is a lot of pressure on Freshers Week to have the best time ever. It's going to be the best week of your life. Like, chances are that won't be the case. Like, yeah, everyone's going guns blazing for Freshers Week, but it's also probably not the best week of your life. Like, I had much better nights out towards the end of my university year, like in first year and in second and third year, just because you know more people, you're much closer to them, and you know what type of nights out you want to go on rather than the organised events. So if you haven't had the best time ever in Freshers Week, it's okay. Like, you'll get better times throughout your university life. So on the topic of nights out, do not take a credit card with you on a night out. It will get lost, or it'll get stolen, or you'll end up spending so much money on contactless that you'll wake up the next day and regret it. So my advice would be just to take out as much money as you think you'll need for that night out. I normally just took out like 10 or 20 pounds for a night out, put it in cash, and then I only used that. Once it was gone, it was gone. And I always made an effort to not spend all my money so I could get home on the bus, or I could get a takeaway if I wanted to. And then I also have like an emergency £10 I always used to keep in the back of my phone case, which is just in case you get really drunk, someone else gets really drunk, you've got to get a taxi to go home or to hospital or whatever happens. It's always good to have a bit of money as a reserve, but like, don't treat that reserve as, oh, that's money for shots. Like, no, it's like emergency money only. And also put in your phone some good numbers for taxis. In York, we had taxi services that offered discounts for students, so have them in your phone just in case you need them. And like, download apps like the bus app for getting bus tickets and Uber and stuff like that, because there's nothing worse than when you're on a night out thinking I'm gonna walk home, or I'm not gonna need the bus or whatever, and then you need it and you're standing there on wireless trying to like download apps and sort your life out. Like, just do it all in advance. And finally, on the topic of nights out, is it's okay to say no to nights out. Like, I remember a lot of the time in my first year, people would knock on my door and be like, come on Charles, let's go out, let's do this. And it's very easy to succumb to that peer pressure and think that you're going to miss out. But honestly, it's better just to say no, so you can focus on your studies, focus on sleep, take time for yourself to just like recuperate and relax, have like mental health days. Because if you're always going out and you're always studying, you're just going to burn the candle at both ends, and you're going to end up getting ill or just burning out. And that's definitely not what you want to happen in first year. There are so many nights out you can go on throughout 3 years of uni. Just do them like in the summer and at the end of terms and stuff. Like, if you feel like you're not 100%, yeah, I really want to go out, don't. Because chances are you'll be on that night out and you'll think, wish I was at home. Going off that is sign up to all the clubs and societies that you want to do. Clubs and societies at university are like the last chance I think you have before you reach adulthood, where you can try something new for the first time. You don't have to know anything about it, and you can just throw yourself in and you'll be around people that are supportive. And it gives you an opportunity to, just do all the things that you want to do and try a new sport, try a new skill. In Freshers Week, basically sign up to everything that you think you will want to do, and then you can decide from then which ones you really like and kind of whittle it down. And I don't think I was adventurous enough in my first year. In my second year, I wish I did more. And like in third year, I ended up doing like a surfing club, I ended up doing a running club, a book club, and I absolutely loved going to sort of all the events and things with those clubs. So I really wish I'd done stuff sooner. And finally, I think a lot of people get homesick and they get lonely at university, because it can be quite lonely if you're just in your halls, just in your like dorm room, because it's just you, and it's probably the first time in a lot of people's lives where you don't have your parents there all the time, you don't have siblings, it's just you on your own. And if you shut that door, people won't come in and see if you're okay. You know, you might get the odd person knocking at your door, but fundamentally it's going to be you for a lot of the time. And that is also good to have time on your own, but you might get lonely or homesick. So if you do get homesick, try not to go home, because the second you go home and start getting into that rhythm of going home, you're going to not have as much time at your university. It's going to be harder for you to settle, and I just think it'll be much harder for you in the long run with like feeling homesick. And if you do get lonely, just go and speak to people. People are always in the kitchens and stuff and halls, and people are always about, and reach out to people, you know, that you live with or friends from your course. Be like, hey, do you want to go for a coffee, hang out? Because chances are other people might feel a bit lonely too, and you know, people are always there to talk to and to hang out with at university, so make the most of that while you can. So my final bits of advice are on the topic of academia. So first off, and this might sound a bit like motherly advice, but focus on your studies. At the end of the day, you're at university to get a degree. So that's really what you want to do. You want to try and get the best degree that you can possibly get. And I know a lot of people say, well, first year doesn't count, well, you know, it won't matter. I'll just here to party, here to have fun. But first year does count, especially if you want to do something that involves you getting work experience in second year. They're going to be looking at those first year grades for the work experience. And also, first year is the best opportunity to have trial and error at assessments, at exams, at your course generally, at organisation and structure, because it doesn't count towards your actual degree. So you can fully experiment on how you best study and how you best work and how many hours to put in. So when you get to second and third year and your assessments do count towards your degree, that you know exactly what you're doing and you're in a good place, and you've got loads of feedback and things like that from your assessments to help you when it actually counts. But that also goes to say, as because it doesn't count in first year, in terms of it doesn't count towards your actual overall degree, don't stress yourself out. I massively stressed myself out in first year, and I look back and I just wish I had more time to like chill out and do things with my mates. So find the balance, but you know, take it seriously to some level. Going off that is get work experience. Regardless of your course, get work experience, even if it isn't related to the field that you think you want to go in. So for me, I did law. I got loads of work experience in law, solicitor and barrister areas, but I also got loads of work experience in like marketing and the civil service and just different areas. And it basically enabled me to look at all the work experience that I had done and see which bits I liked and which bits I didn't like. And it taught me more about who I am and what I wanted from a job and my future. So it doesn't really matter if the work experience isn't related to what you want to do, providing you are interested in it to some extent. And just try and get as much work experience as possible. There is nothing worse than going into your second year with like one thing on your CV, because it'll be really difficult to get work experience then. And because work experience is very time consuming, first year is definitely the year to do the bulk of it, because obviously, you know, you have more time, the degree doesn't count, so you can be spending your time in first year on work experience, so it makes second and third year a lot easier. So my final 2 points are, firstly, be organised, experiment with schedules, calendars, timetables, have whiteboards, have some sort of visual thing in your room that tells you all the stuff you need to do that week, even if it's just like your classes, your lectures, and then like parties and things you want to go to, or like society events. And have that so you know what you're doing every day. It gives you more purpose, it stops the days sort of blurring into one, and it also enables you to sort of keep track of your deadlines. And then secondly, going on from the deadlines point, is exceptional circumstances. Do not be afraid to submit your exceptional circumstances. You never know what's going to happen in your 3 years at university. Exceptional circumstances are increasingly becoming used for, you know, mental health issues or things that happen that aren't strictly like the serious things that are listed on the website, like somebody dying or you have a serious injury yourself. Like, there are a lot of other things you can use exceptional circumstances for. Basically, if something serious happens and you feel it's going to impact your studies, definitely put that exceptional circumstances claim in. I didn't, and I look back and kind of regret it. And once you've handed in that assessment, typically you can't submit an exceptional circumstances claim afterwards. So definitely do it beforehand. Don't be afraid to do it. Worst case scenario, it will get rejected, but at least you've tried, and it could end up getting you an extension, which definitely takes the pressure off and stops burnout happening, especially if you've got a lot of things going on. So that is all my advice for first year of university. And let me know if you want any other advice videos or any other things that I haven't necessarily mentioned in this video. Comment all of that down below and I'll be happy to answer, or perhaps make other videos for the going back to uni sort of theme. So I hope you liked this video. I will see you in the next one. I'll see you next week. Bye guys.